everyone, I'm Kelly D. Growing up, my mom always said, never throw away things in the kitchen. We can always make something from leftovers. So today, we're gonna do just that. We'll be making a delicious dessert from leftover or stale bread. We'll be making bread pudding. So let's go over the ingredients. For our bread, we have 3/4 loaf of leftover bread. We have some brown and some white. Now we still have the edges on because I love to keep the edges on when we're making bread pudding. It gives it a nice texture. So I would have cut the bread into some small cubes, and I already put them into a prepared greased baking dish. To make our custard, we have 4 eggs, 4 cups of milk. Now you can use half and half or heavy cream, but I have 4 cups of milk, 1 cup of granulated sugar. You can also substitute the granulated sugar for brown sugar if that is what you have, but I prefer to use granulated sugar, 4 tablespoons of melted butter, 1 tablespoon of raisins. Now I have my raisins soaking in water, but to add an extra layer of flavor, you can soak your raisins in something else. Some persons like bourbon, some like whiskey, but I have the raisins soaking in plain hot water to get them nice and soft to add to the bread pudding. We have 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, and for our spices, we're going to use 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to add our raisins to the bread pudding. I already drained the water off of the raisins. We're not going to use too many because the raisins will add another level of sweetness and we don't want it to be overly sweet. We're going to just add the raisins to the bread at this time. Oops, one got away, but we're going to leave that one over there. We're going to just add the raisins. We don't want them all at the top. We want them to sink into some of the crevices and the little missing holes. So once we have our bread, we're going to set this aside, and at this time you can go ahead and preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Now to make our custard, we're going to add all of the other ingredients together. We already have our eggs here, so we're going to add our 4 cups of milk into the mixture. We're going to put all of our wet ingredients together, and then we're just going to whisk it all one time. We're going to add 1 cup of sugar. You can just smell it. We're going to add the melted butter, and we're going to add the vanilla extract and the spices. Cinnamon and nutmeg. Desserts are always improved when we add spices, and we're just gonna combine them all together. I'll just whisk everything until everything is all combined. This should take about 2 minutes. Then we're gonna add this to our bread, and that's it. Very simple, 2 steps. Make the wet ingredients, make your custard, prepare your bread, and then soak the bread, and that's it. Now that our custard is finished, we're going to add the custard to the bread. Now this is a tricky part, so we need to very carefully soak all of the custard and the bread. That all of our custard is in, we're gonna just take a spatula and just gonna pat everything down. We need all of the bread to be totally immersed in the custard. We need it to be all nice and wet, and then we're gonna put this aside for about 30 minutes to allow the bread to just soak up all of this goodness, all of the custard. We could easily, some persons will go ahead and bake it at this time, but no, we like to allow the bread and the custard to become one, to just soak in, and the bread will become nice and fluffy once baked. We'll bake it for about 30 to 40 minutes at a 350 degree oven, which you should already have preheated. Our bread pudding is done. Just look how fluffy it looks, and just touch and it just bounces off of your hand, nice and fluffy. That is because we allowed the custard and the bread to become one. Now to taste. Bread pudding is usually served with a nice sauce, a rum sauce, a vanilla sauce, but my favorite is a scoop of ice cream. Just look at how they actually blend together. You can't tell the difference. You can't tell that this is ends of stale bread. Everything just blends and mixes and mushes together. Now to taste with just a bit of ice cream, a favorite Barbadian dessert. Delicious. It just melts in your mouth, and the ice cream, the cold from the ice cream and the heat from the bread pudding is a perfect mix. Whenever you have any leftovers, there's always something that you can do with it. For leftover bread, bread pudding. Now you need to try it.